Back to the book, the weather turned ugly again as we formed up to resume the attack to the north. A bitter cold wind greeted us, filled with a stinging, gritty snow. It was my birthday. After the troops were squared away, I crouched in the ditch alongside the road and took some time to go through my snapshots. I thought of Dorothy teaching the happy birthday song to the babies and how they would try and sing it. I saw their little pink cheeks and blue eyes and Dorothy's golden hair. Rough way for him to spend his birthday. And as you sit here today, wherever you're listening to this, know that somewhere in the world there's an American serviceman that's out there celebrating their birthday in a similar manner, I guarantee it, away from his family and his loved ones. What else does he get out for his birthday? He gets some enemy activity. Back to the book, the enemy fire became heavy. About 50 Chinese were dug in against us, and they were serious about defending this place. Lee took his platoon off the road to extend our firing line. Captain Wilcox came forward with Garcia and the big radio and set up in the ditch just behind Kaiser. I marveled at his easy, ambling gait during firefights. He always stood up straight. Just like JP. The static of the SCR 300 radio added to the pounding of our own machine guns and bars. Rifles cracked, Johnson's mortar thumped out HEs, and enemy bullets zinged through the air and spun off chips of boulders. Soon came the urgent cries, "Corpsman! Oh God, Corpsman!" And the fear came, as it did to me on the onset of every fight. The corpsman cries, the booming explosions, and the whine of bullets, blood-drenched parkas. Dear God, not this time, please. Platoon Sergeant King from Taylor's platoon crouched among some large boulders above me. He shouted down that there was a machine gun near the spike of rocks that marked the Chinese main position. I willed myself to climb up and get a better look. The fear submerged, and the cold was forgotten. Overcome that fear, take action. Now they continue in this little firefight, and then finally we get, and I've talked about them before, we get some air support, some Marine Corps air support. We got some Marines on the ground that are pilots, what we now call Anglico. The Marines are on the ground. These are fighter pilots that go out and do infantry work and call for fire. And so here we go, back to the book. Bob Wilson brought in the Corsairs that were on station to cover our advance. I called down to Burris to lay down a round of white phosphorus to mark the Chinese guns, and the flyers came in on a column of white smoke. They flew in low, barely above us. Their great racketing noise overpowered all other sounds as they flashed by. On the first passes, they fired the machine guns and cannons. These had little effect. The Chinese were dug in too well. They followed with a napalm run, a spectacle of awesome and terrible beauty. The pod slid from the planes, tumbled across the ground, then exploded. Black smoke billowed, and red flame leaped against the white snow, and seconds later we felt the blast of heat that consumed the ground 200 yards away. Chinese soldiers were aflame, running about in frenzied circles. They threw themselves flailing into the snow. There was sudden silence. The Chinese ceased fire, and our own weapons were quiet. We were stunned by the power of that close-in flaming strike. 200 yards away. That's not a big distance. That might seem like a big distance. That is not a big distance. When you're in an airplane and you're coming down to drop napalm and kill a bunch of people, that's a tiny distance. Mm-hmm. Marine Corps pilots just getting after it. It's called danger close, by the way. So if you're going to call in an airstrike that's close to your positions, you have to say on the radio, you say danger close. Meaning, look, I know it's close by. You got to do it.
Right.